I want to blur the lines between art and furniture. On its own, this piece is meant to be a sculpture until you hang a coat on it and its true purpose reveals itself. It's not about choosing between form and function, it's a place where the design serves both. And even though there are 68 glue joints, it's actually far less complex than it looks. I'm going to show you a joinery technique you probably have never seen before. And this video is brought to us by Squarespace. I'm going to be totally honest with you and let you know that this wasn't the project I planned on working on this week. If you can believe it, I forgot that there was a holiday coming up, and because of that, my deadline for a sponsored video was much sooner than I expected. But this turned into one of those situations where limitations and tight timelines force you to design something you never would have otherwise. And spoiler alert, I am absolutely thrilled with how this came out. So basically, I needed to design something that could be made in a day, but I never want to make a project just to fill a video slot and to meet a deadline. Everything I make needs to have a purpose, it needs to have some kind of meaning, and most importantly, it needs to scratch that creative itch. So how do you design a project with 68 glue joints that can be made in a day? You get a little creative with the joinery and you make all the pieces the same width and thickness. About a year ago, we converted our back entryway into a coffee bar, but it still has to function as an actual entryway. You might recall the shoe bench that I made, and it's basically where we toss our coats as we walk in. That is not ideal. And the blank wall above it is begging for something a little bit more visual and welcoming. The great thing about this project is all of the pieces are the exact same size, 3/4 of an inch by 1 inch. So we were able to cut all the pieces all at once. They just have different lengths. So the next thing that I need to do is cut the little hooks that's going to be glued on to the bottoms of these pieces here. There are 5 hooks that are going to get glued on to each individual long piece like that. So this side of that hook needs to be perfectly flat. So when I attach, making sure that straight edge lines up with the straight edge of the board that we have here. So then we take our template and we attach. Actually, I just realized these pieces need to be 3/4 of an inch wide. The board that I was about to glue it on is 1 inch wide, and that would make things difficult. So I need 3/4 inch walnut. Do I plane this down? Or do I find 3/4 inch walnut? It's always a shame to plane down really thick walnut, but it is what it is. I actually hate this phrase. I'm not sure why I said that. I wish I could go back in time and take it back or edit it out. And now we can glue this onto our walnut. So now we're going to glue our 10 hooks to our 10 long pieces. And since we've got straight grain to straight grain, we don't need to reinforce that glue joint at all. And this is kind of difficult to clamp up. So I'm going to use a little dab of CA glue for that instant bond, along with wood glue for that long-term strength. Now it's time to glue everything up. What makes this project so quick and easy is it's just all butt joints. And we're gonna glue everything together. And even though it would probably be fine, just butt joints like this, woodworkers love overkill. I love overkill. So after the glue dries, I'm gonna flip it over and reinforce those joints. Probably not necessary for something like this, woodworkers love overkill. Also, I cut these spacers out over on the one laser. This is just gonna help speed up the glue up process and make it easier for me. You don't need this. If you wanted to make your own spacers and you didn't have a laser, just go ahead and use your CNC. I'm only concerned about the spacing going this way, which is why I have the little spacers in there to help. Where these are, it's more random. So while I'm gluing this up, I'm gonna give you some glue up tips. At the same time, tell you about my friends at Squarespace. Squarespace is more than just a website host. You can get your domains through Squarespace. You can have your email blast service through Squarespace. Your website can be Squarespace. You can sell both physical and digital items through Squarespace. And one of the features that I haven't taken advantage of yet, but I'm going to in 2026, is their calendar. You can book appointments through the Squarespace website. When gluing these up, I use tape quite a bit. Don't use the blue tape because it doesn't have any stretch to it. It just breaks. Find the green Scotch tape because it's got a little bit of stretch. So I'm gonna stick this tape on there, stretch it over, and then it brings in those pieces. I used to be a web developer before all of this. That's how I made my living. Starting a website, always the most fun part as a developer. If you're not a developer, it is the most excruciating part because you're trying to gather up all of your stuff. Squarespace makes it really easy because you're gonna go in there, you're gonna answer a few questions, and it's going to build the navigation and the site for you as you are answering those questions. It's pretty bonkers. So when you're done answering the questions and your website is all there ready to go, it's navigatable, it's got some dummy copy and some placeholder photos in there. All you gotta do is you go in and you replace that with your photos and your copy. When you're gluing up end grain, like I'm doing now, it's best to go in, add a little bit of glue to the end grain, let it sit and dry, and then go and re-add glue when it comes time for glue up because the end grain is gonna soak in all of that glue. And this is just going to make your joint so much stronger. Always give yourself more time than what you think it's gonna take. My most disastrous moments in woodworking has always been during the glue ups. Back when I was a professional web developer, one of the hardest parts about building a website was making it look good on mobile tablets and desktop. With Squarespace, it's automatic. It's called responsive design. Your website will reformat itself to fit the screen that is on, so it looks great on mobile tablets and desktop. We are gluing this up on melamine, which glue doesn't stick to very well. So if I have any squeeze out, I'm not gluing this to my workbench. You could also lay down some wax paper and that's gonna help you out quite a bit too. Visit squarespace.com and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, we are just about done with this glue up. This is actually an easy glue up, but for some reason, my brain goes into stress mode. My primate brain thinks a tiger is chasing me and I get all stressed out. Think about my morning meditation and let that flow through me throughout the day. It's all good. It's all good. Everything, there's no issues. There's no issues going on here. So you can see we got some bigger spaces that are kind of random in there. And that is on purpose because we're gonna have a little bit of fun with that later. So because glue ups stress me out so much and I use tape quite a bit in my glue ups, I got this tape dispenser. You don't need this, but this is pure luxury. You can set the length and then you just hit the button and it dispenses tape. It's, like I said, you don't know what you're missing until you use one. That is way too short, actually. Let's increase that. I have no affiliation with this, but you can also put it on auto. And so when you take a piece of tape, it just spits out another one. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I actually prefer it not on auto because there's something satisfying about hitting the button when you need a piece. I'm just gonna put a couple pieces on the back side.
That came out really good. I'm very happy with that. I didn't accidentally glue any of my spacers in there. So we're just gonna let that sit and dry for an hour. Took the tape off. This is the back side. This actually might be fine for quite a few years. The problem is you have end grain to straight grain, and over time, those little pieces, they're gonna expand and contract with the seasons, and it might take quite a few years, but as it expands and contracts, that glue joint is going to weaken and eventually it could break. But there's so many points of contact that I don't think it would. What you could do, and would be super easy, is like what picture framers do in the corners. They don't, their miters aren't glued, or if they do glue it, they're just reinforced with like a staple thing. That would work. I am going to drill a tiny little hole right at the seam and then put in a wooden dowel and cut that off. And that's just going to give me a little bit more. I think that's gonna work. Only 48 more to go. So the bigger holes I want to fill with pops of color. And I'm kind of thinking like the Eames primary color, because Eames use primary colors with walnut quite a bit. So red, orange, blue, yellow. But I need to see what I have, because I don't know if I'm going to use acrylic, glass, or even pouring epoxy. So I'm gonna see what I have here. If I'm pouring epoxy, I can just tape off the back, pour it in. If I'm putting acrylic or glass, I gotta route a little rabbet on the back for those pieces to fit in there. So let's go see what we have. But yeah, this is coming out really good. Came together really fast too. So I'm going through my acrylic stash here, and it turns out I do have red, yellow, green, and blue. So let's give this a shot. So I drew up these simple shapes in Lightburn and then back over to the one laser to cut these guys out. I will have a link for the one laser down in the description to their latest deal. Got a rabbeting bit in the router, so we're just gonna route a rabbet on the backside where those colored panels are gonna go. Before we attach these permanently to here, I want to add some finish to this guy. So let's pop all these back out and give it a proper bath. In typical Pachuto fashion, I might be changing my mind here at the last second. I have the acrylic inserts cut, but the reason I didn't use any stained glass is because I couldn't find the colors that I wanted for this project. But I did find this clear glass, and it has this awesome texture on there. So I'm kind of wondering if I use this, but then put a backing on there to get the colors that I want. And it's just gonna give it a little bit more of a, if you know what I'm saying. So after cutting and breaking the glass, I used my glass grinder to grind down the corners so they would fit into the pockets. The plan was to use this construction paper that's primary colored behind the glass. But in actuality, I think the original acrylic pieces that I cut is a little bit more vivid behind the glass. So I'm gonna use the glass and the acrylic so I have that texture and the super shininess that's gonna contrast the flat finish that I have on the wood. So this will pop out a little bit more. That means I need to route a deeper pocket to fit the glass and the acrylic. So now the glass pops into place, and then the acrylic over top of that. And then we got to figure out a way to attach that so it doesn't fall out. To hold everything in, I'm going to use these little washers and a screw, but I don't want them sticking out the back. So I am going to use a Forstner bit to mortise that out. Pop in our glass, pop in our acrylic, pop in our washers, and screw that in place. Also, I should have mentioned earlier, when reinforcing these joints with dowels is going to work perfect for this. It just gives it a little bit more glue surface. We got some grain going into different directions, and it's not going to split apart. I would not do this type of joinery on anything that's structural or needs to hold any kind of weight. To attach this to the wall, I'm going to cheat and use command strips. So the purpose of this design is to blur the lines between art and furniture. When it's not in use, it's meant to look like a sculpture, not a coat rack. There are 10 hooks, but it's really only meant to hold 2 coats. I just wanted to keep that repeating pattern. It will hold 10 coats. There are 4 command strips on there, so I think it's rated for 40 pounds. But there's only 2 of us in the house that wear coats. The other 2 never take theirs off. Patreon members will get access to the Fusion and SVG files. I am working towards my first art show in the spring, so look forward to more sculptural pieces. I'll have a playlist right here of the pieces that I've already made for the show. A place has been set. We are confirming the dates right now. It should be in the late spring. This is something I have wanted to do my entire life, so I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am. More info on that real soon. Unsubscribe from the noise, stay passionate, and make something.